Okay, so today we're going to talk about solving quadratic equations part 3 using my nice lovely quadratic formula. So again, this one, especially this one, is heavily calculated. So please go grab a calculator, pause the video if you don't have one. Last year when we talked about this, some of you who had me convinced me to sing the nice little song, and if you guys are good in class, maybe I will sing the song for you. So ask me about it later. When I'm looking to solve my quadratic formula, I have a times my x squared value, b times my x value, and then plus that constant, which is c. I am gracious and gave you your nice little formula here up in the the right side corner. So we are going to replace a, b, and c with values given my quadratic equation. So my formula starts with negative b, or the opposite sign of b. So b is the value that's associated with my x. So my x value is 2, so I'm going to have the opposite of that, which would be negative 2. Then comes plus or minus the square root of that b value squared, so 2 squared, minus 4, always minus 4. That minus 4 is always going to be there. It's just one of the things that's in the formula. It's not going to change. It'll always be minus 4. That minus 4 is going to be multiplied by my a value. Well, there's not a number showing in front of that a squared, but we all know it's that invisible 1. So negative 4 times 1 times c, which in this case is that negative 20. That whole kit and caboodle is divided by 2 times that a value, which again we said a was 1. So let's do some simplifying. We have negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 2 squared is 4. In your calculator, we're going to multiply this whole big thing together at once. So you're going to take negative 4 times 1 times negative 20. What'd you get? You got 80, right? Now, is that 80 positive or negative? Well, there's no negative sign with it, so it has to be positive. If your answer is positive when you multiply those last 3 numbers together, your minus sign has disappeared, and you are going to put a plus in the middle. If your answer when you multiply those 3 numbers together is still negative, then you will put that subtraction sign there. In this case, it's positive, so we are going to leave it as plus. Okay, so 80 plus 4 gives me 84. So now I have negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 84 over 2. 84 is not perfect, but I know that 84 is equal to 4 times 21. So the square root of 4 is 2. So I have 2 plus or minus 2 root 21. Oops, let me fix that 21. That looks a little bleh. All over 2. I have that divided by 2 on the bottom, so I can go ahead and divide every term by 2. Now, when I say divide every term by 2, I mean everything that is not under the square root. So I asked myself, is everything else possible to be divided by 2? Yes, it is. 2 divided by 2 gives me 1. 2 divided by 2 gives me 1. So I have 1 plus 1 times the square root of 21. I did not get a nice whole solid answer. Oops. Forgot my negative sign. Oops. Too many negatives there. Okay. I cannot get a nice solid answer, so I'm going to leave it as negative 1 plus or minus 1 square root 21, or just 1 times anything is itself. So 1 plus or minus the square root of 21. So again, like I had said yesterday in yesterday's video, more of my quadratic equations will be solved using either factoring or this method. So instead of doing 2 intense lessons back to back, I split it up with the solving by completing the square. All right, let's use our formula again. So we have the opposite of b, so in this case it's negative, so a negative negative turns positive, so I have 12. Man, I'm having problems with my computer today. So I have positive 12 plus or minus the square root of 12 squared. Okay, some of this stuff I'm going to not write every single step down. If you need to, you're more than willing to do that. The reason being is I can do a lot of this stuff by talking to you. So we know that I'm going to square that b term. So what is negative 12 times negative 12? Well, that's going to give me 144. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write that squared term there. I want to then write out what I'm going to multiply so that I don't accidentally forget to multiply something. So I'm going to have 144 minus 4 times 30 times 15 all over 2 times my a value of 3. So again, I'm going to kind of put some steps together so that way each problem doesn't take me 7 lines. It's not, again, if you need that, that is more than fine. I just want to save you guys space, and I know a lot of you are like, well, why can't I just do that off the top of my head? I know I can do that real quick. That's fine. So again, in my calculator, I'm going to multiply all 3 of these numbers together. When I multiply negative 4 times 3 times 15, I get negative 180. So I'm going to have underneath that square root, I'm going to have 144 minus 180 all over 6, because 2 times 3 gives me 6. When I take 144 minus 180, I get negative 36. Now, we did this last week with our complex numbers. See how I told you what we did keeps just piling on each other? The square root of negative 36 is going to give me 6i. Going to ask myself, can I divide everything by that bottom? And by everything, I mean my 12 and my 6. Is 12 and 6 divided by 6? Yes, they both are. 12 divided by 6 gives me 2. Plus or minus, 6 divided by 6 gives me 1, or just I. So my answer here is 2 plus or minus I. All right, next problem. I have the opposite of my b, so I have positive 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared is 16 minus 4 times my a value of 4 times my c value of negative 17 all over 2 times 4, which will give me 8. In my handy dandy calculator, I'm going to take negative 4 times negative 17. So now I have 4 plus or minus the square root of. This is going to give me plus 272. Oops. Sorry about that. Let's see that it was not where I wanted it to be. So 16 plus 272 gives me 288 all over 8. 288 is not perfect, but I will tell you right now that it breaks into 144 times 2. 144 is perfect. The square root of that is 12. I'm still left with the square root of 2 all over 8. Now you're probably thinking, okay, next she says, well, what? Let's divide everything by 8 because 8's on the bottom. Can I take 4 divided by 8. I can take 8 divided by 4, but I can't take 4 divided by 8 and not get a nice whole answer. I'm going to get a fraction or a decimal, right? Well, in that case, I want to see if I can divide all numbers by a different number then. Well, I can divide 12, 8, and 4 by 4, so let's go ahead and do that. So 4 divided by 4 gives me 1. 12 divided by 4 gives me 3. The square root of 2 does not change, and that's all over 2. The reason being is I want to try and reduce all of these fractions as low as I possibly can get. So if I cannot reduce it by just the denominator, then I look to see if there's another number that goes into it that I can divide by. All right, I want you to try these next two on your own. So I want you to pause the video, and when you come back, I want you to check your answers. Okay, so if you notice, I have A, put both answers down, and then B, covered up the second one because I wanted to talk about this answer before moving on. So when you get to the part of trying to ask yourself if you can divide, my number associated with my I is 1, correct? I cannot take 1 divided by 10. So I have to leave this fraction as it is because I cannot simplify it. I do not get to reduce the 15 because it is under that square root. I can only reduce whatever whole numbers I have. Since there is no number out front there besides 1, I cannot reduce, I cannot reduce that fraction down anymore. So it stays as 5 plus or minus I square root 15 all divided by 10. However, on the second one, I originally get 4 plus or minus 2I root 10 all divided by 4. I have that 2 value with my I, so therefore I can reduce everything. I can divide everything by 2. So I did. I took 4 divided by 2 and I got 2. Then I took 2I divided by 2 and I got I. And then I took that 4 on the bottom divided by 2 and I got 2. So if you got these two answers exactly without forgetting to reduce, excellent. Go grab your homework, you're done. If you did not, we're going to go through these next two examples together. For examples, I'm sorry. I promise I know how to count. Alright, so again, I'm going to start because you are running out of room, because hopefully you're picking up some tricks and this is getting a little bit easier to plug into your formula. We are going to do a couple things at the same time. So the opposite of my b is positive. B squared is 25 minus 4 times 1 times negative 14 all over 2 times 1, which is 2. When I take my negative 4 times 1 times negative 14, I get 56. So what I'm going to do now with that positive 56, because you know I'm going to add it with that 25, in your calculator just hit plus 25. So now you should have 5 plus or minus the square root of 81, all divided by 2. Okay, the square root of 81 is what? It's 9 because 81 is perfect. Woo, we finally get a perfect, nice answer. Okay, so now I have 5 plus or 9 divided by 2. So in my calculator, I'm going to split this problem up. I'll write it out so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But I want you to be able to just do it in your calculator. So that way you don't have to write all these extra steps. So when I split this problem into plus or minus, I have one fraction with a plus in the middle, one fraction with a minus in the middle. So I'm going to take 5 plus 9, hit equals, divide by 2. That should give me 7. So one of my answers is 7. Then I'm going to take 5 minus 9, hit equals, divide by 2, and I should get that value of -2. So in this case, we actually have 2 solid answers. Woo! Your homework is not as difficult as your notes. You actually only come up with 2 problems that you cannot simplify down. So all the other 6 problems, you will actually be able to have answers like this. So please keep going. All right, the second one over here to the right, I have 7 plus or minus the square root of 7 squared, which is 49, minus 4 times 2 times -3, all over 2 times 2, which is 4. In my calculator, I'm going to take -4 times 2 times -3 and get 24. Then I'm going to take that 24, hit plus 49, and I get the square root of 73. So I have 7 plus or minus the square root of 73 over 4. So 73 doesn't break down into anything. So that's my answer. All right, third problem. Opposite of 7, -7 is +7, so I have 7 plus or minus 49 minus 4 times 9 times -4 all over 2 times 9 of 18. -4 times 9 times -4 gives me 144. I'm going to take that 144 plus 49, and I get 193. So I have 7 plus or minus the square root of 193 all over 18. I asked myself, can I break down 193? Nope. My answer is 7 plus or minus the square root of 193 all divided by 18. And my last one, opposite of b is -4. So I have -4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus 4 times 9 times 16 all over 9 times 2, which gives me 18. I have -4 plus or minus the square root of, well, let's figure out what's going under there. We have -4 times 9 times 16, which gives me -576. I take that value plus 16. I get -560 all over 18. I will tell you that -560 breaks into 16 times 34, or excuse me, times 35. So I get -4 plus or minus. The square root of 16 gives me 4. The square root of that negative sign gives me 1. Excuse me, it gives me that I. And then that 35 stays underneath because all I have left is 7 and 5, and neither of those are perfect. All still divided by 18. I ask myself, can I reduce? Yes, I can divide everything by 2. So I have -2 plus or minus 2i square root 35 all over 9. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is that large crazy answer and the end of our notes.